record, I could see Philadelphia moving off Sirianni in 2 weeks. Seriously, that's what they do. They've moved off Super Bowl winning coaches. Chip Kelly had a winning record. Absolutely, they'd move off this. Remember, not a quick reaction doesn't always mean impulsive. Sometimes it's proactive. We got a problem. We can't fix it. We made a mistake. Let's get out. I respect that. And Belichick could fix it. He'd get the defense up to speed, lower scoring games, easier to win. Because right now the defense is bad, but we don't even know what Nick Sirianni does. I mean, he's not like a quarterback whisperer. Jalen Hurts, obviously, the answer again is weird. Like sometimes we talk, it kind of feels Sala Rodgers. The difference is Rodgers is Rodgers, right? He's going to solve some stuff because he's Aaron Rodgers. So let's look at the Week 5 schedule and what's in the windshield for the Philadelphia Eagles. So you start looking at all these games around the league and in their division. I don't know. I look at Philadelphia. There's an opportunity here to make a big move. Eagles on a bye week this week. Wouldn't that be an easier time to make a move on a coach? Now, you say it's silly. That's ridiculous. They've moved off winning coaches, trophy-hoisting coaches. Philly's on a bye. And by the way, it's the loudest sports talk radio city and columnist city in the country. So they are crushing Sirianni. And Jalen Hurts, again, Jalen's really good at the podium. When Jalen's coming up at the podium and Jalen is giving you awkward answers on Sirianni, a story leaked in the offseason that Sirianni and Jalen had issues, Philadelphia is just not going to sit on their hands. It's a bye week. And this is not a great division. We don't know what to make of Washington. Giants are Dallas is This is a division they should win. And so they get Cleveland at home off the bye. That feels good. But if they don't win convincingly, I don't know. I don't think it's crazy for Philadelphia. They're not going to sit on their hands. That's not. You start looking at Philadelphia right now. Okay, bye. I don't know. I see some road games. I see Joe Burrow. I see Dallas. I see Washington. I see McVay and Stafford. I see Lamar. Those are tough games, a lot of them on the road. Maybe the bye came at the perfect time. But, boy, you better look good off that bye. By the way, what do top coaches do? They look great off byes. Andy Reid off a bye. McVay to start the season. I mean, what do great offensive coaches do? Right? They off a bye, you come out clean, you look great. I mean, look at what Harbaugh did in a week. I mean, if you go look at the Ravens, like they can lose to the Raiders, then they come out against Dallas, and Baltimore's first halves against Buffalo and Dallas, they look like the best team in the world. That's called scripted plays. That's called coaching.
Eagles should also get Lane Johnson, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown should all be back after the bye. They smashed Cleveland, and there's nothing to worry about. They're going to be fine. I think this is probably the third best team in the NFC.
That's what I said 3 weeks ago.
Let's not overreact to one loss, which we both called on. Well, one of us.
Bottom fell out last year, and they weren't as injury depleted.
It did. 10-1 to
fell out last year, and they had a lot of their dudes.
Dolphins Titans. It was a tough watch. So last week, Tyreek Hill said the Dolphins were cooking up a crazy game plan to get him involved in the offense. He had 4 catches for 23 yards last night, Colin. Heading into the fourth quarter, Jared Goff had more receiving yards than Tyreek caught the touchdown pass. Tyreek Hill had 6 yards heading into the fourth quarter receiving. He had a blow up on the sideline that was not pretty. I don't know if you've seen the video. I don't know if we have it here, but he's basically just yelling right behind McDaniel. McDaniel has just stone-faced look like it's your kid melting down.
Well, also, there was a moment in that game. Did you watch it when they did that pass behind the line of scrimmage?
He didn't even try for it.
Tyreek Hill's been playing football since he was probably 7. He didn't know the rules on that? So Tyreek Hill can get upset. That is basic football. Yeah. And I'm like, Tyreek, the ball's on the carpet.
Yeah.
And so Tyreek you can yell and scream, but that play, you're not locked in if you don't know one of the 4 or 5 basic rules.
Yeah. Play the whistle. Very basic. Anyways, Mike McDaniel was asked about Tyreek Hill's sideline explosion. Here's the coach.
I would expect him to be visibly upset at somebody. He's a leader, and he did not. He wanted to do everything that he could to make sure the result wasn't that. And so there's, within the locker room, there's a lot of guys challenging each other, and we get an opportunity to see what we're made of for sure.
It is interesting how many teams in the NFL are just dreadful at backup quarterback, and 60 quarterbacks play a year. And, I mean, give Carolina credit. Andy Dalton's a good backup. I mean, some of these teams, it is remarkable to me how bad the backup quarterback situation is.
Look at how bad they've been without Tua.
No, I mean, Tua.
Colin. This is
the
under
big
Mike
winner
McDaniel.
for Miami last night was Tua. I mean, without Tua,
They can't do it.
average.
They're inept. They could. I think they're the worst team in the NFL without Tua. Like, they look. Colin, they went 10 quarters without scoring a touchdown. Like, that's worse than Zach Wilson with the Jets. They don't have a solution here. This is kind of on the front office. All offseason, were we not saying draft Michael Penix, draft a quarterback just because Tua was healthy?
Okay.
So what?
So here we go. So everybody beat up on Atlanta for signing Kirk and having Penix. Penix probably the most talented backup in the league. Look at Miami. You think drafting Penix would have been crazy? You are unwatchable. You're the worst team in the league. For everybody banging on the Atlanta Falcons, who are going to win this division, they're going to end up with 10, 11, or 12. I don't think they're great, but in that division. But Atlanta's like, yeah, we're going to have 2 quarterbacks that can play. 60 quarterbacks are now playing every year. Why aren't more teams doing what Atlanta did? Atlanta got crushed for it, and I'm like, you're telling me a mistake in the NFL is having the best backup quarterback in the league and paying Kirk Cousins a contract. It's not Tua's contract. It's not Mahomes, Allen. It's a big contract. It's not Deshaun's contract.
Yeah.
It's not Russell's contract in Denver. It's in the 100s.
Well, what hurts McDaniel is watching his buddy, LaFleur, bring in Malik Willis in less than a month and play 2 games and win them and look competent. Like, it was a good game plan.
Well,
Miami's had no game plan.
Yeah, but Malik was drafted. Wasn't he a second-round guy or something?
The Titans moved off him because he couldn't
But
play
he
football.
does have talent.
Okay.
It's like, folks, it's a quarterback league. You got to have a good understudy. You can't just, I don't care. If you're a big Broadway play, there's got to be an understudy around.
I'm just
Somebody
going to
gets
float
sick.
it. We like to be forward-thinking. This Miami team's really, they're devoid of talent. The offensive line is atrocious. No Armstead, they can't block anybody. Why don't you at least gauge the market for a guy like Tyreek Hill? Just see what you can get for him. Can you get 2 first-round picks for him? I don't know. Can you get a 1, a 2, and a 5? I would just at least float it to see what you can get for Tyreek Hill. Because let's be real, Colin.
Oh, no, you could get, first of all, so 2 is your quarterback, and yet your O-line's bad and you have no backup quarterback. That's on the front office. I mean, you can have a bad secondary and be a track meet team. You can't have no backup and a bad O-line if Tua is your starting quarterback. And that's not a shot on Tua. It's a reality of who he is. Yeah. But like Green Bay, Jordan Love doesn't have a history of getting hurt. They had a capable backup in, and they have good offensive lines.
Look at all their wide receivers. They got a fleet of like 5 guys. I know Tyreek Hill's awesome, and he's fast, and he's a superstar. He's replaceable, Colin. He is. You can get a bunch of dudes in there, 3rd-round wide receiver to come in and put up really good numbers opposite Waddle. I know Miami's not going to do it, and they love Tyreek Hill, but if you're smart and you're front office, I think you try to move off of him. Look at the numbers, by the way, with Tua in week 1. 12 targets, 7 for $130. The last 3 games combined with a bunch of backups, 10 catches for 87 yards. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Let's go to the final story, and that's the 49ers. They've been down some weapons. Brock Purdy shouldering the load. Kittle returned, which was nice. How about this stat? Brock Purdy has scrambled for 8 first downs this season.
Yeah.
And he's been extending plays more than we've seen in his career.
Yeah.
Purdy talked about his athleticism. It's underrated on the team.
I think my 10-yard split, just to give you guys some perspective, was faster than Christian's and Debo, I think. You guys can fact check me. But that's what I mean. Like, I think I just have enough to get out of the pocket and make a play, pick up 5-7 yards here or there. So I'm not Lamar Jackson's by any means, but anyways, just do what it takes.
No, I think it total fairness, when I watched that Rams game, we saw this with C.J. Stroud in college. We thought he was a pocket quarterback. Then he faced Georgia and Randy, and you went, wow. We saw this with Herbert at Oregon. We thought he was a pocket quarterback. Last game at Oregon, they let him run. You're like, wow. Brock Purdy, when he has Christian McCaffrey behind him, he doesn't have to run. Right, he doesn't have to. But when they're down weapons and he has to engineer some off-script stuff, he's a nice little athlete.
So I know we love C-Mac on this show. Colin, if you've been reading, following some